Strap in for a long post if you're ready. Any info that may elicit questions on how I knew it was because either friends or family filled me in after D-Day. My best friend is someone who I have known since high school. We were in the same homeroom and were inseparable after that. Basically, brothers from another mother. You know the whole spiel. We kept zero secrets and are an open book to one another. Our dating lives, relationships, dirty laundry, etc. You name it. He knew everything about me, and I knew everything about him. Even though he may be my best friend, I would never introduce any women I know to date him because his dating life has been a complete disaster. He has had 4 exes, 2 of which cheated on him. One was sleeping with multiple men. The second one was two-timing with another man for a year. He cheated on his 3rd girlfriend and dumped her to be with his 4th girlfriend. He also hits up prostitutes on a regular basis. His mother is also wealthy and so he has never had to work his entire life. His mom just sends him money. Meanwhile, I was a virgin and never had any contact with any women until this relationship. The events. I met my significant other through a dating app back in January 13 to 2019. From the first date to the end of 2020, things were generally going well. We traveled a lot and also hung out plenty of time with my best friend and a significant other whom they had been together for around 4 years at the time. When the pandemic hit, my best friend's significant other broke up with him and moved back to China. So during this time, it pretty much became just us 3 hanging out all the time. We would play video games, watch movies, and just hang out together at our homes. When the restaurants started opening up, we would go out to eat, and sometimes he would also happen to take my girlfriend out to grab some dinner, which at first I didn't think anything of because she lived close by to the places he would go eat at. I thought nothing of it, and the outings for them became more and more frequent. I felt off as she came home later and later, but I didn't question it because he was my best friend of 20 years and she would always send me pictures of the food and tell me that she was grabbing dinner with him. January of 2021. I started helping out my girlfriend's family to renovate a new house they just got. During this time, I had already returned to work for 2 days a week. The remainder of the 5 days I would go help renovate the house. By the end of March, I had broken my wrist, tossing out wood planks, underwent surgery, and then her birthday came up on April 29th. April 29th. I had planned a trip for her that involved the 29th and 30th. On the 30th, as we were coming back home, my best friend wanted to give her birthday cake as well and waited for us to come back. He had also gifted her a custom engraved iPad for her birthday, in which she was ecstatic over May. Week 1. A week later, she calls me up to break up with me. Reason being, she didn't see a future with me because I didn't make enough money. She said that I was lazy and had to find a second job and I didn't have the luxury of playing games all day compared to my best friend who doesn't have to work because he's rich. I was also not the first one to wish her happy birthday at 12 a.m. I was 2 minutes late. I asked her who it was that had wished her happy birthday earlier than me and she replied with, "You don't need to know." I have come to learn that it was my best friend May. Between week 2 and 3, a couple of weeks after the breakup, I called up my best friend of 20 years to confide in him that I had broken up with her before this. I have never shared any of my issues with my girlfriend with him. He had no idea that I was suffering and going through this pain. Apparently, he had already invited her out for dinner a few days earlier and told me he had no idea we broke up and that she didn't mention anything about me when they were together. He told me to never hesitate to reach out and that he was already there for me, in which I took up and either hung out or called him up and talked every day for at least 2 hours per phone call. May week 3. She calls me up to get back together with me. I agreed to get back together. Everything seems to be going well for the next few weeks. We had talks of saving money to get a place to move in together next year. We had also planned a 3-day vacation trip together with a bunch of friends that included my best friend. I told my best friend about it and he gave me advice saying you need to reconsider moving in together with her because she broke up with you when you broke your wrist. And that's a huge red flag. She put you through hell all this time. She's never going to change. And can you truly envision the rest of your life with her? His advice was sound reasonable, and I accepted it without hesitation. May week 4 to June 3. During this time, I started going to therapy for my broken wrist post-surgery, and there were a couple of cute women there that I had casually told my best friend about. After the way my significant other had initially broken up with me amongst the previous issues throughout the years, I started wavering a bit, so I told my best friend about having doubts on maintaining this relationship and if I should break up with her, maybe I could even ask out one of these ladies. He told me that it was a terrible decision and to just keep my significant other in the dark. Just ask out the women for therapy and that if things work out with them, then my significant other can be a backup until I can transition and promote them into the main girlfriend position. I was extremely distraught at this thought. Cried for a couple of days and in the end I didn't go through with it, seeing as how it would devastate my girlfriend to waste our time. I would hate myself for life. June week 3. I chose to work on this relationship and work on myself instead. So I delved into online articles on relationship advice. I had many tabs open with different articles, some that are titled "Want to Break Up? How do you know if she's worth sticking around for?" and other generally sensitive topics. When my significant other came over, she saw the open tabs and started questioning me. So we got into a fight and she accused me of having someone else that I liked. She told me that someone else also asked her out at one point during a relationship and she turned him down because she was in a committed relationship with me. She texted my best friend that she was no longer going to the group outing that we had originally planned. I told her that I was having doubts but wanted to work things out with her and try my best as we had built something for the last 3 years and I truly cared for her. I told her I was in it for the long haul. We made up and decided to go on that trip. June, a week for my best friend, had gotten a new apartment and was busy buying furniture and setting up equipment. He had asked me over to help set up. He had gotten a couple of televisions and a table and bed from IKEA that I helped him put together. This was supposed to be his new bachelor pad, as he has decided to delve back into the dating scene and get out of the single life. He had also really started to work out and do cardio to lose weight, and he did a pretty dang good job of it. After I finished helping him put together the bed, he thanked me. "Now, no problem. You've been there for me every step of the way, through this darkest of time in my life. And I would do the same for you. This is nothing." He also assured me that he never told her anything during the time they hang out. June 30th. This would be the last time I would be able to reach him through phone calls or text. The last time he picked up my call was earlier that day. I tried calling him later that night and texting him, and from that point forth, he dropped off the face of the earth. He would come to reveal that he was having dinner with her that night and didn't want to make things awkward for her by picking up my phone call. This would also be the first time that I know of that she had not told me they were going out for dinner. Aside from the time when we broke up within the 3 weeks break in between July 9th, the next time I saw or made contact with him wouldn't be until the trip. He was a driver as he had the car before. Then, whenever the three of us hung out, I would always sit up front with him while my significant other sat in the back seat. But this time she said it was a long trip and she gets carsick. So she sat at the front the entire time during the vacation. My best friend paid for everyone. All the tickets or meals, and my girlfriend would be together with him the entire time, running off to play the arcades, gamble, and out of sight. Meanwhile, I was stuck in the back, hanging out with my other friends. One of my friends revealed to me that they were gossiping amongst each other and taking pictures of them together, asking each other whose girlfriend. That was during the 3-day trip. I also didn't have any sex with my girlfriend during the ride back after everyone was dropped off home. I was the last one in the car with him. He also told me that he had gone to the same place last week with an ex-girlfriend of his, and that is why he knew what places to eat at and which spots were fun. We just talked for a bit and then asked him why he stopped picking up, and he said he was busy setting up the internet and finishing up the final touches to his apartment. I would soon find out that this trip he booked for the same place was originally intended for my girlfriend so that she would not miss out on the vacation. But I threw a wrench in his plans when I had made up with her. End of July and July 25th. My birthday was here. And the week before that things were getting cold and distant with my girlfriend. She would take hours to respond to texts. Sometimes not even text back at all, which she has never done before. She came to stay over the night before my birthday so we could go celebrate together the following day. I waited until 12:05 am. Before she mumbled nonchalantly to me, "Happy birthday." I tried to have sex with her, which she was brushing me off. Also never happened before, but we finally ended up having sex. This would be our last intimate moment together. The actual birthday was a disaster. She was out of it. Completely. Took me to eat, got me a present, but left halfway through the day saying she was busy and had work to complete. It would be the last time I ever saw her in person. Combined with a recent trip, I just began to feel terrible. And by the following week, I was pretty much about to call it quits. Week of July 30th. These next few days after my birthday was just me going through the motions of random texting, FaceTime her at night with no real emotions. On Friday, July 30th, I just after texting her, and watched she also didn't text me until 5 p.m. after work ended. I finally called her up and we got in an argument over the phone. We never explicitly stated we were going to break up, but admittedly we ended on a bad note, as I have truly been fed up with her attitude. I started saying pretty angry things and asked her why she never got me a birthday card or a birthday cake, and her response was that she got me a card but didn't know what to write on it because she was scared that I would leave her, and did not get me a birthday cake because she was afraid that this would be the last time I made a wish in front of her. I told her that I didn't give a crap about her and she hung up on me. Mid-August. I didn't contact her at all for the following 2 weeks until she texted me to tell me her father was coming over to my place to drop off my belongings and for me to return hers. The dad didn't even know what was going on and asked me to work things out with her. He told me he would love to see us reconcile and get back together and told me to keep in touch. August 28th, D-Day from the vacation until this day, 6 weeks total after the trip. 2 months, if you include the last time I had spoken to my best friend. Aside from the trip, I kept trying to reach out to him, but he never picked up any of my calls or answered my texts this day during work. One of my other close friends that we all hang out with calls me and says my best friend called him to tell me my significant other had moved in together with him and are now officially dating. Apparently my best friend had called him up that morning to tell him the news and to keep it a secret from me. Instead, this other friend told him that as soon as he hangs up, he would call me to tell me the truth, in which he did. Just that. I was absolutely gutted. That same night, when my best friend finally reached out to me, he called me to tell me everything. Mind you, I'm in a complete state of shock, so I'm answering incoherently and asking stupid questions. Hey, how you been? If you haven't already realized it by now, I'm dating girlfriend's name. It just happened. I had no choice. I was feeling suicidal. I didn't see her. Just being with her made me happy. She doesn't want to see you or speak to you. I'll always have your best interest at heart. She was terrible for you, but perfect for me. I asked him, why did he give her custom iPad engraved with her name and in her favorite color? And how did you even know when her birthday was? He said he just wanted to see her happy, and it didn't mean any more than that. I would find out that he did months of research, snooping in her social media and stalking her Facebook feeds to find out the relevant information. I asked him when and what made him ask her out to dinner dates. He told me it was because he saw that we were already having issues. She was mistreating you and being very disrespectful towards you, and that he liked her. So he saw this opening that he had to take a chance on it and shoot his shot, and that he was absolutely floored. She agreed to go out with him. I asked him why he never asked me to go along with him when they were going one-on-one dinner dates, driving her around to fancy restaurants with all expenses paid. He tells me, I didn't want to bother you. You were busy. I didn't consider those dates. I just wanted to see her because I would feel suicidal if I didn't see her. Only being close to her made me alive and happy. Don't worry. Until you two broke up, I never laid my hands on her, never touched her. I wouldn't do that to you, I said. You do know that is emotional cheating, right? You, too, have been cheating on me. And his response? If that's the way you see it, then I'm sorry. I asked him if given the chance to redo this whole situation, would he readily throw me under the bus and pull this stunt again? He said absolutely. 10 out of 10. She is my soulmate, and that he'd be shocked if I don't marry her. She's a terrible match with you, but she's perfect with me. I asked why he would pursue her and get together with her when I literally kept no secrets about all her red flags to him. His response was, I feel like you made many mistakes and caused these issues to spiral out of control. I can handle her. I actually like these red flags. It makes things more exciting. I told him that she was willing to cheat on me, that she would cheat on him in the future as well. And he said, "That's totally a possibility. It's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm willing to give my girlfriends a one-time pass for cheating." I asked him why he would do this to me and that he made my life miserable. He had 4 exes and the first 2 cheated on him multiple times, and he cheated on his 3rd girlfriend and dumped her to be with his 4th girlfriend. So I asked him, "You've experienced the pain of being cheated on. Why would you do this to me?" His response was, "I didn't think you would be that bad. Give it some time, you'll get over it. Weren't you going to ask out that therapy girl? You're still young. There's plenty of fish out in the sea. We're the same age." I asked him how was the sex, and he responded with, "It's all right. You can find better out there." I asked him how it didn't bother him, or doesn't he think of me when he's having sex with her. He says when you have sex with enough women, you don't think about that stuff. He has also had sex with hundreds of prostitutes. I told him that we never broke up and that we only got into an argument on July 30th. He tells me that he had no idea and that she called him to see him on August 1st, 2 days after a fight, and she was all over me, and that was when I knew that you were over. He says this last month she's been living with me and staying over pretty much 70% of the time. She's my living girlfriend now. During this time, a few days before this phone call, my mom, who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer around 5 years back, was told to stop taking the medications because they were no longer working and she was too weak to receive further treatment. So she's basically on hospice care. I told my friend if you wanted to visit her one last time because I didn't know whether she'd be around after another year or not. He said he'd love to, but he can't. My last question to him was, "Am I your best friend?" He replies, "Of course, it's not even close." He helped me out during my darkest times, and I'll always remember that I told him you weren't there for me during my darkest times. You were nowhere to be found. And now I find out instead you were the perpetrator all along. He said, "I'm sorry you feel that way." We had the phone call by him telling me that he's going to lay low for 6 to 12 months and that he won't be hanging out with me during this time. He tells me not to listen to what any of my peers and family say about cutting him off and that he'll always be friends with me and that he cares deeply about me. He told me this entire time of no contact. He was actually really worried about me and wanted to check up on me all this time. But he was really busy and that tonight was the first time he had time to talk to me. But our final words, he said to only contact me if it pertains to separating and closing. You join accounts and bills that you still share with my girlfriend if it doesn't relate to that issue. Don't reach out to me. Basically, if I want to contact my girlfriend at all, I have to go through him first. I have also come to realize my girlfriend has blocked me from every social media, phone, etc. And she cannot be reached for me to get any sense of closure. I have since sent her 2 emails to talk and gain closure to tell her how much I hurt her and push her away. That my inability and coldness drove her to seek the warmth and comfort of my best friend, that I was truly sorry for everything, and that if she wanted to move on and date him, that I would give him my blessings. And all I asked for to have one final conversation with me for closure for our last 3 years. The other 2 means something instead of the way it ended in complete ghosting. I have also contacted her father, who said he would talk to me after talking to her, but he has never reached out since. I am absolutely gutted and devastated. I've not only lost my significant other that I have at one point considered proposing to and starting a family with, but have also lost my closest friend that I have shared more than half of my lifetime and half of my memories with. Losing my girlfriend of 3 years was bad enough, but losing my best friend through this treachery, I'm in shambles. I see them living large, going on vacations and having the time of their lives on social media. And while I'm here, losing the 2 of the closest people in my life, aside from my family and soon to my mother as well, I get nightmares of them laughing and smiling at each other while having sex on a bed I helped put together. It haunts me and I get sleepless nights over it. I get random pains in my chest and it keeps me wide awake. I just want to wake up from all this to find out that none of this is real. I just don't understand how he could destroy my relationship so badly. This is my first ever relationship, and he just had to steal my first woman. I'm so sorry you had to experience this up. This is quite dramatic. And it's natural for you to have questions. There's no excuse for ex-friend's behavior. It makes you wonder if he ever really was your friend and if he was where it started to change. We often don't see how one side of relationship really is until time passes. He seems like he saw how happy the two of you had been, how she made you happy, and he became jealous of that and wanted it for his own. Goes to show you that you can have all the money in the world but still be unhappy. Let's continue. Update: I've done extensive research and my ex-best friend is a sociopath narcissist and my ex-girlfriend is a narcissist. I know these terms have been getting thrown around a lot these days, but that's usually the case with cheaters like these two. They hit just about every bullet point that coincides with the dark triad of psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. Basically, I couldn't thank my lucky stars enough, and I'm absolutely blessed that things unfolded in such spectacular fashion. They excised themselves from my life. They're both dead to me, and I want absolutely nothing to do with them ever again. Now for the juicy part. First off, apologies to the late update almost a year later. But the reason for that is because those two betrayers are so irrelevant to me now that I just couldn't really be bothered to write up this short novel. I purpose that because the rabbit hole goes deep. It's crazy, literally and figuratively. But with that being said, if you're in for a ride, strap in, and I highly recommend you to brush up on the details of my previous posts before diving into this one. We have to set the stage first with some names: Snake, ex-best friend, foreigner, exes, call them ABCD, and my ex-girlfriendy. But let's make it simple and just keep it. My ex-girlfriend. True bro. The one that reported the cheating to me. He's a mutual best friend we both have, or Snakehead, picking off from where I left off. August 28, 2021. D-Day, September 2nd. I get back on the dating apps December 6th. I run into Snake's ex-girlfriend, C, and we match. I haven't seen her since about back in 2016. Quick backstory. I've only met C once, but I remember her face. Snake met this woman on the dating apps and started dating her for a few months before moving on to date. I knew D from a mutual friend gathering and I was actually interested in dating her. But Snake took over instead and started dating her even though he knew I was interested. Mind you, during this time he was still dating C, so he was two-timing for about a month before breaking up with me and started officially dating D during all these years. C never truly let go of Snake. She has never dated anyone else since and was still madly in love with Snake and became the stalker type. Always calling him, asking to meet up, and he felt bad so he would take her out to dinner and trips periodically. Snake would always confide in me how she's constantly reaching out to him. I told him I needed to stop seeing her and cut all ties with her because he is essentially wasting her time and stringing her along and back. Story. December 6th. I matched with her and started talking to her, saying hi. It's been a long time, and she responds with, "Have you heard from Snake? What's he been up to?" And I immediately think, the crazy ex is here. Here we go. But I decided this woman has a right to know how much of an irredeemable piece of crap he is and for her to wake up and move on. So I arranged a meet-up at a restaurant the following day, December 7th. I was nervous as hell as I had no idea what to expect or how to even begin. But before I dropped my bombs to her, we exchanged some brief pleasantries first before I asked her a few questions. When did you two break up? Like almost a month ago. Where was the last trip you two went on? Back in early July. Conclusion: Snake never broke up with C. He was dating both C and D for the last 4 to 5 years. T was a friend of True Bro, so we always hung out with D. C was the bygone ex from 4 years ago that was dropped in favor of D, except it never dropped. Apparently Snake had been living together in an apartment with C all these years. He would spend a few days C or their place and then a few days at D's place. C had always asked about hanging out with True Bro and me since she hasn't seen us in so many years. Snake had a divide and conquer strategy set up. He would hang out with his college buddies with C, and when it comes to D, he would hang out with us. So about a couple of months ago, Snake broke up with C, moved out to a new apartment so he can move in with my ex-girlfriend, but his name is still on the lease for C and he still had keys to the place. So he still periodically comes and goes as he pleases. Snake took C on a 2 to 3 day trip to the exact same place our group vacation was headed to a week prior. Turns out Snake likes to do multiple repeat trips with all his women on back-to-back weekends. He took CD and my ex-girlfriend to the same place like Disney World, Universal Studios. After we compared notes and pointed out every discrepancy and lie, we parted ways. December 8th, Snake shows up unannounced to see his apartment. C had the night before tossed out all the remaining belongings Snake had left. Snake is livid and calls up True Bro to spend some lies about him clearing things up with C, and they are still in a loving friendship. Sure, she changes the locks and gets Snake to remove his name from the lease. Mid-December, C and I decide to visit Snake's that report to him what atrocities his son has committed. We both haven't seen his father in years, and it just so happens she knows his address. So we take a shot in the dark and just show up unannounced. The father was ecstatic to see both of us. He immediately asks, "How is the relationship going? When are you two getting married?" And as towards me, "Hey, I haven't seen you in so long. I missed you. How have you been?" Basically, we told him everything his son had done. That not only was he not marrying C, in fact, it's over between them. And he has stolen my girlfriend and currently lives together with her. Needless to say, the father was visibly distraught and devastated. Discovery and truth uncovered. Snake is not rich at all. His dad is in his mid-70s, retired, and is sending his son $1,000 a month from his own retirement and Social Security benefits to help pay for the rent for the apartment with C, which is around $3,500 a month. That's because Snake has never been employed in his life. We thought he was a trust fund baby, except he's just a lazy sack of garbage. He knows Snake does nothing but play video games 24/7, so she is the one paying for the entire rent. Basically, Snake had been using his father's money to wine and dine my ex-girlfriend. Snake's mom is not wealthy. She does all right, but most likely sends him some money as well. Snake has about 10 credit cards that he's maxed out, is in $100,000 debt, and is basically a massive fraud and loser. Snake has graduated from a prestigious Ivy League school with an advanced degree, but has never had a job after that, stating that these positions are beneath him and not enough to pay. He wants the best of the best. Top 1 percentile salary, or he's not working and wasting his time. He has never had a job since graduating back in 2017. His own father said, "I feel I failed as a father, raised the biggest failure in the family lineage. I never should have come to America. I never should have gotten married and had. This kid is an utter disgrace to the family name." She also asked me for my ex-girlfriend's contact info because she thinks my ex-girlfriend got tricked and does not want her to become a victim and go through what she did. So I gave her ex-girlfriend's info, and she forwards ex-girlfriend the following information: lists the screenshots of the texts and phone logs of Snake's blowing up CS phone in the middle of the night and leaving texts saying how he wants to get back together with her. Some highlights include Snake telling C, "I hope to live in a mansion in the future where A, B, C, D, and E could live together under one roof and get along." This man was trying to amass a harem and wanted to add my ex-girlfriend to the collection instead of thanking C. My ex-girlfriend calls her up to badmouth me, telling her to stop hanging out with me and that I'm a bad person. Apparently, Snake told my ex-girlfriend that he still had to periodically check on C to make sure she was going through the breakup all right, and to ease her pain. He has previously stated that he maintains close friendships with all his exes and treats them to dinners once in a while, and that all his exes wanted to get back together with him. Some extra tidbits about Snake. Snake has made inappropriate sexual advances on the wife of one of True Brody's best friends when he was still with Dee and the wife are best friends, so he was blatantly making a move on the wife while Dee was in the house. This transgression was swept under the rug as a one-time isolated incident. He has also had a history of making moves on other married women. He keeps nude pictures of his exes, particularly of ex-girlfriend, on a password-encrypted hard drive that he views every so often. I ask him why he still used them. Was she still the one that got away? His response? No, nothing of that sort. Is the same age as us. I don't want to throw a woman. She is old and washed up now. He goes on to say that he's merely admiring the pinnacle of the female physique in her 18-year-old prime. And when they first got together in college, he said she was his greatest conquest, and he's never going to be able to tap that butt of another 18-year-old. So he enjoys this body of art. Snake pays for prostitutes everywhere he goes. He has tried to get me to lose my virginity on my 30th birthday to one, but I turned him down after he brought me to the brothel. The conclusion is that ex-girlfriend and Snake are both lost causes and deserve each other. May they end a relationship of mutual assured destruction. After that incident, the rest are pretty mundane. Apparently, Cia's birthday is also in April with my ex-girlfriend. He called Cia up and left a voicemail wishing her happy birthday. Meanwhile, ex-girlfriend called Cia up as well to continue telling her to get a hold of me to clear up some unfinished business. I find the fact that both of them were reaching out to see a hilarious and insane password to today. I'm at a point of pretty much indifference now. If they break up, that's cool. If they don't, that's also great. At least they won't drag down any new victims. They're both pathetic. And what everyone has told me from a year ago all came true. Time is the healer of all wounds, and I simply stopped caring about them. And I'm much happier for it. I can't promise if I run into Snake on the streets that I won't buckle under the emotions and go eat them up. But luckily I haven't seen it since. Otherwise, life's been good. And for being a 31-year-old virgin to having the ultimate crash course in heartbreak, betrayal, cheating, and everything under the hood in 2.5 years dealing with sociopaths, narcissists. I couldn't have asked for a better lesson as it left me with nothing but positives. I've never gotten married. No kids, no CDs. Still able-bodied. Didn't lose money. Exposed a 20-plus-year-old backstabbing Snake that was hiding a dagger behind his back the entire time. I dived into books about human psychology, relationships, self-help, self-improvement topics, and watched countless videos and podcasts on all these subjects. It's opened my eyes and I am that much wiser for it. Edit another dark story that I've forgotten about and decided to just tack on here since it's pretty niche. If anyone has played Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's basically a video game on the Nintendo Switch, where you own a small island that you can design the landscape of your liking and other people can visit it and run around and do activities together. Long story short, ex-girlfriend lived with me during the pandemic of March 2020. So when the game came out as both were playing that as well as Snake, we would always laugh and poke fun at Snake for him, making a female avatar with long black hair for as much as he plays. He's surprisingly ignorant on the game mechanics. When we play together, however, he still managed to make an island into a 5-star rated resort. It's an in-game rating system, highest level. Come to find out, it's because it was his ex-girlfriend. See who was playing the game the entire time. Anytime we would ask him to show up whether to visit his island or ask him to visit us, he would then grab the Switch from C and then play with us. I just found this revelation extremely unsettling and is a chilling example of just how cold and calculated this monster is. Hello. My wife and I have been married for 6 years. We have 3 children. I'm 43 and she's 44. When we were dating and even engaged, I was plagued by the feeling that I was making a giant mistake. We didn't really seem like each other's type. I'm lazy. She's efficient. I'm a talker. She's a doer. I'm sentimental, but selfish. She, on the other hand, doesn't have a sentimental bone in her body, but is a tremendous giver. She never looks in the mirror, but she's gorgeous. In addition to being a superwoman type, runs 7 miles every day, all year, excels in her career, makes healthy, wonderful meals for us every day, all year. She's also a supermom. The children are well-adjusted, smart, happy, in bed. We work fine. She's a little inhibited. But isn't that what the husbands always say? I have loved her for being such a giving, selfless person. She has also been fun-loving and easy to please. I love her parents and my parents love her. Yet on a personal level, as in being able to really connect mentally, it has never been strong between us. She read so many books but never really wants to talk about them. I know this sounds lame of me and I understand. If you stop reading, we see a movie and she's content to see a few remarks like it was funny or scary or she liked it, and then she moves on. I could talk about a movie, good, bad, boring, fun, scary. It doesn't matter all night. I'm not saying these are character flaws, just illustrations on how we were different. But different doesn't mean a marriage is doomed. A marriage can thrive on differences. I have often felt ours did that for that reason. Also, she has an admittedly tendency to defuse situations by saying what will pacify someone instead of the harder truth. These instances have almost always been minor things though, Like me asking one time where a little painting went that our daughter did in pre-K and she's saying she didn't know. A minute later, I found it in the trash and got really mad. Not because it was in the trash, but because she wouldn't admit, yes, I threw it out. The kitchen is messy. There are a few more examples I could give you like that, and only a few. She also probably chose the untruthful route because I have gotten mad about her throwing stuff out too early. In my opinion, like Christmas cards. So there you go. Basically, she's one of these amazing take care of everybody people. And I'm a full of himself person who takes her for granted and finds her to be somewhat interesting. We've always been on the very same page regarding raising the kids' money, religion, politics. Both of us are apolitical, basically. And sex jealousy has never been an issue between us that I'm aware of. Back when we were dating, there was a friend of hers from graduate school who seemed keen on her, but I wasn't bothered. He later cheated on his wife, and the husband of his lover came and threw coffee on him at work. I love that story. There was another guy a few years ago that she worked with that was kind of hyperactive and loud, and at her 40th birthday party at her house, he wanted to take a picture of a photo of her in her high school prom dress that I'd included on a poster collage of her from across the years. I thought that was weird. And I did think, that guy's sketchy, but that was about it. Plus, she'd always say, yeah about him, when I made a joke about it. That being said, 2.5 years ago, I suddenly became highly alarmed with her friendship with a different man she works with. I'd never felt anything close to this before about anybody. I met him at the YMCA. His children played soccer with our children that fall. I'd heard of him, but never met him. She told me previously she thought we could be friends, that he liked playing basketball, too, and was looking for pickup games. So we started seeing him on Saturday mornings at kids' soccer games. He was very friendly to me, very friendly to her, very friendly to her parents. They stood closely and she has a big 1,000-watt smile around him. She has a beautiful big smile. She pretty much glows. I realized, she and him really know each other well. This was not merely an acquaintance, but a very good friend. I also noticed that he's somewhat overweight. And for what it's worth, anti-vaxxer wife seemed grumpy with him whenever she was there. I attempted to talk with her, but there was something that didn't really click between us. She seemed kind of distracted by him not attending to her 18-month-old or not helping her with the bags and stroller, etc. Initially, I joked about it with my wife. Probably a mistake. Well, that goes into you and his wife's not happy with him, stuff like that. My wife sort of shrugged that off so that I had nothing to worry about. About 2 months later, one night, just as we're starting to make love, my wife calls me his name. I pretended I didn't hear him being the dog that I am. Just continue with what we were doing. The next morning, however, I brought it up. At first she denied it, but then admitted it, saying she didn't know why she said it and she was so embarrassed and sorry. I know her. I don't know how she could have just made a mistake. Like, who doesn't have random things go through one's mind even during intimacy, especially when you've been married 14 plus years? So I tried hard not to let it bother me, and she definitely tried hard to make up for that. And I noticed and we were fine, except we were not fine because I was still aware that this man texted her occasionally on weekends to see if she wanted to meet up with kids. Our kids had become genuine friends with his. She would tell me this, by the way, like, hey, you're going to be at the park at the time. Neither she or I kept locks on our phones. I did sometimes look through her phone at her photos. Her texts just kind of took it for granted that I could do that, and then it wouldn't bother her. As fall turned into winter, and winter became spring, I became increasingly bothered by her phone buzzing on a Saturday mid-morning or a Sunday afternoon, and knowing there was a chance it was him texting about going to the park or maybe a work-related thing, something innocuous. But still it was starting to get under my skin. One early spring evening at the YMCA, we were there as a family and my wife had a sore leg that she wanted to treat in the hot tub. So I stayed in the gym with the kids messing around. And then my middle daughter ran into the gym saying, "Daddy, guess who's here?" And it was him. And by that point, I was like, whoopee. I was thinking, well, where is he? Turned out he was working out or something. And then when he saw my wife in the hot tub, he got in with her. And they were talking there for a while and my blood was boiling. I suppose a more secure husband would not care, but when we got home, I was like, that guy is a douche. I'm sorry. Who does that? I would never get in the hot tub with a woman I worked with, especially if I knew her husband was in the gym right there. Well, my wife was ticked off at me for being mad about it. Jealousy is not a good look. Jealousy does not make one attractive. I've learned that the hard way. I want to point out that in the winter, prior to this hot tub thing, I had started playing basketball on Tuesday nights with him at the YMCA. And the thing is, I really did enjoy playing with him. I like his selflessness and he had an old school back to the basket game. I respect it. I also felt like he was not as good as me. I made sure to beat him the one time we played one-on-one. When it ended, he mentioned that he was feeling a little under the weather, which he'd already told me. This is pathetic of me. I know. So I was trying to be friends with him and let it be understood that this guy was always really very nice to me. Well, summer was fine. We had a nice road trip to Colorado. We all had a fun adventure. My wife wanted to make love several times during those 8 days, which I didn't expect. It was a really nice vacation. On the second, the last day of the road trip, I experienced a stomach ache that basically hasn't gone away after a year and a half. I've had it checked out. It's nothing. It's staging. It's anxiety. I don't know. At the end of the summer, my uneasiness about him and her began to rapidly escalate. We had an argument over the phone one day over why her phone was turned off at a time when I wouldn't expect it to be off. I was trying to call her, but it went straight to voicemail. She claimed it because it was broken, but then admitted it was because she was mad at me about blowing her off earlier that day, which was true. I did. Then one day I was looking at her online phone bill and I decided suddenly to look at her data, use it for her phone. I'd never done that before, as it had never occurred to me, and I wish I'd never ever done it then. It was the first of many things I started snooping into, and every time I looked my conscience and God said, don't. But I did anyway. So I looked at her data usage and felt like Shelley Duvall in The Shining. I saw that she and him texted all the time, going back months, even a year. I saw that they texted every day of spring break for about 25 minutes in the morning when we were visiting my parents. I say spring break because I'm a teacher and she's an administrator for the same school district. I saw that a few times earlier that summer. She and he had talked on the phone for an hour a Saturday or Sunday afternoon when she went for a walk. In addition to running, she loves going for walks and hikes. I was freaked out. I probably should have taken some literal and figurative breath and asked, okay, does this really mean anything bad happened? Or at least said to myself, okay, what's the best way to react to this if you want to protect your marriage? But instead, I just flipped out big time. That night, actually, we had a date and my sister had our kids at her place too, for a sleepover. But I ruined that date halfway through by suddenly saying, hey, what's up with this? I know you two are friends, but you have a boyfriend is what you have. I went full ogre on her. I mean, I wasn't throwing things, but I was an ogre. She said yes. They text a lot at work because he didn't have a desk phone. And they do work together closely on many things, which I know is true. Plus, I know her personality and she's not a waste-time texter, no matter how much she might like somebody. But I couldn't get over the spring break taxi and the Saturday-Sunday walk and talk stuff. She said, he's my friend. I don't have many close friends here. True, yet I have a friend. That expression touched me, I have to say. But I kept going and digging and snooping. I wasn't sleeping well. She, in the meantime, was trying desperately to keep me happy. We were still making love, although I was very unable to really get into it, which I think in turn bothered her. I looked at her iPad, which she kept in the car. It had recent locations set to on. This was not something I anticipated. I looked and scrolled and saw something anomalous. A place you'd been to once a week and later summer, just a few weeks prior, for about 30 minutes each time. Right in the middle of the workday, it was pretty much on the edge of our city, a residential neighborhood by hiking trail and golf course. A shot in the dark. I googled the street name along with the guy's last name. I have come to learn that this is called pain-seeking behavior. What popped up? Not making this up. His parents have a condo right there. They don't live there, usually, but it belongs to them. In other words, it's often empty. Her car was parked right in front of that condo with the iPad in it, recording the location. Yo. So I'm like, yep, it's an affair. There's no other explanation. I call her that in there at work. I say what I found. She asked me to tell her again where it was showing, and I told her. She paused and then said brightly, "That's where I walk." Sometimes I consider what she's saying. She has always taken walks during the workday. I know that she keeps sneakers in her car for that reason. The condo is directly across from the trailhead. The park entrance, like right across from it when I mentioned. Yeah, but that place belongs to his family. What's up with that? Why there, of all places, she says. I don't know anything about a condo. I've just gone there to walk by myself. I said that can't be true, that you don't know. It's his family's place. That's too big of a coincidence. And she just repeated herself. We went back and forth on this that night and the next. I was going insane because she clearly was lying about this. I cried and banged my head on the mattress, imploring her to just admit she's sleeping with him. She will not. She says she found that place when she got lost back in that neighborhood, driving to a nearby elementary school to drop off materials for the principal. I feel I'm being gaslighted into the extreme. Our kids were surely noticing the tension between us. The third morning I leave not for work but for this place, this condo. I went to look at it with my own eyes, see how one could get lost going to the school. It's not even close. There's no way. I am so mad that I drive directly to the guy's house. I've been there for a few parties. He's not home. Of course he's at work. But his wife is there. She answers, bewildered but pleasant. I'm crying. I say, "Hi. Have you ever worried about our spouses?" She looks at me, sighs and says, "I have." Ness. She invites me in and asks me what's bothering me. I tell her everything I've written here. She's very relaxed and basically says, "Well, if it is, we'll know soon enough. And if it isn't, we can laugh about it later." Much better perspective than me. We keep in touch via text and she says she asked him and he said there's nothing. He, in the meantime, was very alarmed. He came to work and told my wife, which I figured would happen. So that night we have it out, she says, yes. He told me there's a good trail there because he knows I like hiking. I didn't tell you because you'd be mad either way. This is true. But I was like, how dare you look me in the eye for 2 straight nights and lie to me about this? She was so incensed with me for going over there. Well, that was about a year and a half ago. Since then, her attitude towards me runs between mildly affectionate little hugs and being outright pissed off at me. My attitude has been pretty much nonstop. You're in love with this guy. Admit it. I stopped saying that and confronting her with that, but I still feel it. We don't go on dates anymore. I've calmed down a lot. We've had calm conversations about getting divorced, but it seems we both don't actually want that. She is the one who suggests that, and I'm like, we can make this work. She sometimes tells me she loves me still. She wears a ring. Mostly she wants nothing to do with me physically. I almost bought some spy gear this summer to listen to her phone conversation, and incredibly, she found out about that. I left my notes out on the counter on the back of an envelope somehow, and I think it was by providence that she found those notes, because if I had actually gone and done that, we'd be toast. A very devout friend of mine was most helpful to me by saying, "Dude, this issue is not the issue, it's deeper." He got me to admit that I've taken her for granted for years, and he said, I must confess this to her. So I did, and it felt really good. And she softened considerably. This was about 5 weeks ago. She still doesn't want me, and I don't know when she ever will. There's times I think it's too broken. But then I remind myself that marriages can survive and flourish even after real documented actual infidelity. It takes real humility. I've changed, and she's told me that. She says she can see my new leaf, but she's not ready to be close again. Occasionally, I still flip out privately, like when I realized looking through laundry the other day, looking for my sweater, that she wore a thong to work. I've never seen her in a thong, but, well, women own them. Okay, well, I realize this is way too long. This has been therapeutic. Just a right. If anybody made it this far, wow, thank you. If you have anything to say, go ahead. Blast me, it's fine. He asked for people to respond and respond. They do. Dragon 6488 says, I read the whole thing. I listened to a YouTube channel that reads from infidelity subs and the like from Reddit. Your story is the lead up to having caught her. You didn't. If she's cheating, you tipped her hand. You should have investigated before she knew you suspected. Some people find things when a spouse leaves a Facebook open on another device or they see text messages live on another device. Some hire a guy to follow her. Some look at her phone while she is in the shower or something. You need to find out. Silently go from there. My 2 cents. If she is not, that also will be good to know for sure. And then you guys need to fix what is broken. First of all, I don't think she's as nice giving or selfless as you make her out to be. You need to stand up for yourself, man. I mean, she may be giving, but definitely giving it to another man. But that's not because of what you might think. It's because she's selfish. She's the one cheating, not you. You weren't holding a gun to her head. She's made the choice to cheat on you herself. You're going to knock her off whatever pedestal you have her on. Open your eyes. I think she did a number on you. Being jealous is one thing, but trying to befriend the guy that was banging your wife is another. She's cheating on you. Simple as that. She's not being affectionate or intimate with you because she's finding it elsewhere. Update the married douches. You see them everywhere. The married douches at work that you know are playing patty cake with each other. The ones who stand elbow to elbow, close, eyes sparkling. You pity them for their obliviousness to everybody, knowing it's not a subject for the dinner table, but later in bed or watching TV or out with friends while the kids are on the playground. People say, "So did I tell you about the drama at work?" And you laugh about the douches. The guy who got coffee thrown at him by his affair partner's husband. The lady on floor 3 who's banging the director, the supervisor of whatever, and the chief of blah. Whoa. So then what? And you cherish the notion that these things happen to other people. You embrace the security of your own marriage and family, knowing that the little quarrels and monotony and whatnots, it's just life. And you actually see the quarrels and monotony and whatnot as proof of your solid this and marital integrity. You always find each other. Yet way down deep, deeper even than these glowing embers of security and trust. Somewhere you probably shouldn't even be going. And this is just you overthinking this again. Is there some small, niggling concern you've long had about your spouse, something that really doesn't matter because it's always been about things inconsequential? Does every so often, like every once in a great while, like it's really only happened a handful of times in the marriage? Does your husband or wife lie inexplicably when honesty seems once again to be the much better route, and it's made even more inexplicable because it's about something really unimportant, like laughing about it and laughing at oneself? What seemed to be the easier option than trying to bury it? But you get past these moments. You get past them because 1. They are ultimately inconsequential. 2. They could drive you crazy if you don't dismiss them. And 3. Who exactly are you to hold someone to an impossible standard? Are you not just loaded with your own lazy need for superior BS? What's a white lie to your bloviating, self-absorbed way of going through life? Okay, I didn't intend to go second person on this whole thing. Just trying to wrap my mind around how we got here. My wife and I are in our mid-40s. We've been married 17 years. We have 3 children. And after 2 years of thinking about it, I heard a pie last week for last Friday, one of the most nerve-wracking days of my life. Please, nothing go wrong. Fargo style. Please let it not be true, although how can it not be? And if it is an affair, please let today be the day it's discovered. And not that she's using her afternoon off from work buying cat food, but tomorrow at the hotel on the interstate. People I know have said, "Why don't you just walk away?" A therapist whom my wife encouraged me to see when I first started getting really agitated about this whole deal a few years ago, basically said, "Just walk away. You don't need to find out." My body got slowly faded out by his wife during the same stretch of time 2018 to now, and he was not consumed by the need to know what she was up to. Lots of Redditors say the same thing. My answer is messy and full of conflicting motivations. The 3 kids. I'm not crazy, me. Maybe she'll snap out of it now. Don't start. I know what you're saying. I get it. And just overall, this not knowing is a nightmare, and I need it to end. One thing that's always kept me doubting my suspicions has been the question of when exactly she's doing this. She herself has asked me that. Like, so when is it that I would be having this alleged affair, citing how busy she is with everything? God, If I end up with someone else, please may they not be somebody who recites laundry list style their Saturday morning accomplishments. Hey, I changed the sheets, fed the cats, put the gas in the car, got groceries, went to the bank, but my boyfriend took the kids to the park. Did you finish reading Dilbert? Well, the answer to when is apparently her time off. Afternoons on Fridays, every month or so. Going back at least a year and a half. Some days when the kids and I have been out of town camping. I learned this through snooping. Judge me. I understand. I'm just not sure what I should have done. You feel you're being lied to. Your spouse is telling you that 2 plus 2 equals 5. You'd like to believe that. Yet your experience with the world tells you that it is not 5. So you look at the phone data log. You see a crap ton of contact there. Way more than you even thought there'd be. You check out her email while she's in the shower. You see tons of deleted messages about, hey, how's your morning? And a lot of acronyms, the meaning of which you have no idea. Then she calls you his name in bed. That was 3 years ago, actually. They call you his name in bed came first. Then you started snooping. Eventually, after you snoop too much, she just says, I'm done with you. And she has decided that you two will no longer be intimate. The days turn into weeks, which become months, which, of course, become the 3 years I'm looking at now. I have not sought out other women. We have a nice family time on the weekends. Our relationship is incredibly shallow. We do not go on dates. And every so often when I ask her how she's doing, she says, I don't feel trusted still. I manage to make it by reading a lot, working out like crazy and having fun with the kids. So, yes, finally I said, I've got to call a PI. I knew she was taking off work 12 to 5 p.m. last Friday. The peer people were extremely helpful and professional, and they ask you a lot of questions first to see why you want this done and what you plan to do with the information they find. Then the day comes and you're nervous as hell, but the next thing you know, the day is over and you get home from your adventure with the kids and your wife is home from her day at work and she's cheerful and happy. And to a casual observer, it looks like an intact family. Then you get a voicemail message from the peer firm coordinator saying, hello. Just calling here to say that your suspicions are confirmed. We will talk to you on Monday. So it's the longest weekend of your life and you're just barely able to keep it together. And, of course, your wife notices and as a result, she's super friendly. This is the pattern. And then on Monday after work, the lady calls you and tells you some painful stuff. They leave work in 2 cars, drive to another location, get in his car, then drive to a state park wildlife refuge where they have a picnic and kiss and hug on the blanket. But VW on the blanket is how the lady put it. And then they head to a cabin where they spend some time together. Apparently, they've checked in many times at this place, signing in under an alias each time. How the PI figured this out, I don't know yet. Then they leave, and then she comes home at the end of the day. They're going to send the full report tomorrow or Wednesday with hour by hour and timelines and photos. We've got some very good photos of PDA. I'm not looking forward to seeing these. This lady was intentionally vague about some things in her overview today. And I believe the reason they stretch it out is to gauge how you're reacting and to see if you're somebody they need to alert the police about. Or that's my guess as to why she gives a kind of generic overview. A few days before the full report comes in. Anyway. So tonight, Monday after work, after I talked to this lady from my car, I was pretty pissed when I got home. I kept it together until everybody went to bed and my wife came downstairs to go for her evening walk and I said, hey, and then not yelling. Not even really looking at her. Just told her that. I know now. I'm sure it's not fun to live with a husband who knows about your affair and is a monitoring ogre about it. But it is so not fun to live with someone having an affair for years and lying about it and blaming me for being erratic. She got wide-eyed and said there is no affair. There never has been. And I just said, stop. Please stop. I want to respect you in the years to come. Please stop. She tried a few more times to protest, to say there's nothing going on. But the thing about when you know that 100% certainty is you just don't put up with it. Eventually, she got very quiet and was wringing her hands. And I stood up to go and she said softly, here, sit here. But I have been manipulated too many times now by her to do that anymore. And I told her that. Then I went out for a drive and called my buddy. I have only told him and another buddy. I have not told anyone in my family or her parents or anything. I want to work this out with her first and for her to know that I haven't told any family. I still love her. I think she's like a child with her dishonesty. I don't think I can ever trust her again. We'll probably get divorced. I hate to think how the kids will react. I mean, they know we're not right, but still, they don't deserve this. I want to tell the guy, his wife, but not yet. I'm also trying to figure out how to confront him. I really don't want to waste breath on him. I don't want to ruin livelihoods. His 3 kids are nice kids. I don't want their dad fired as a complete douche tool. Barely worth it, but still, I got to say something. What would you do? Also, I can't really stand being around my wife right now. Like it's challenging being in the same house so far with her. I feel like getting an apartment as soon as possible. But some people might say, why should you move out? I just don't want to get into a battle of who is moving out. I want to be around our kids as much as possible, which is one major reason I've stuck around here during the crisis. I feel like moving out might snap her out of the fog. Do I want to get back together with her? Maybe if she's genuinely able to reflect on this and see the damage she's done. I know what my flaws have been that have made her unhappy. They don't justify her colossal dishonesty. And Lance Armstrong like lashing out. But if I hadn't been so ignorant of what she needed from me over the years, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Who knows? All right. Thanks for reading. I guess my intended takeaways are trust your gut picks can really help you. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. If my wife doesn't want to genuinely reconcile, at least I know I'm not crazy anymore. Man, stop focusing on your flaws. It's not you, it's her. You didn't do anything wrong here. You didn't push her to cheat. People cheat because of the choices they choose to make. If you plan on getting through a divorce and seeing your kids, you have to make sure you have your head on straight. This woman turned you into a beta male and left you with all of these insecurities. Time to wake up. Update. Calling all wordsmiths. There are a lot of folks that know just what to say in the moment, but I'm in the other category. I'm hoping not to engage too much, if at all, next week after we have a mediation. But seeing that we're both still living under the same roof, I want to be prepared for her potential volcano. There may be known as she's very measured and even-tempered. But what's going to come out during mediation are the pie-obtained photos and video of her and her classy affair partner kissing at their little afternoon time off picnic rendezvous. And then them driving in his car to his parents' empty condo to be there for the rest of the afternoon. She continues to be very cheerful and friendly with me and is going along with the divorce without actually wanting to talk about it at all. It's beyond surreal because I can barely look at her and I barely talk to her, which I know is weird for our 3 kids to see. By the way, one of my non-negotiables next week is the house. No, sorry, you doing this, and then me leaving to find an apartment. I know you keep the calendar and make the kids' appointments and make lunches, but no. Basically, for 4 years, she said we are friends. You're insecure. You're seeing things that aren't there. You're insulting me with your suspicions. I'd never do that. I'm a professional. He's very professional, etc. And now this Friday, there's going to be this reckoning. My guess is she's either going to minimize it. It was just this one time. Or to go absolutely batshit insane and call me a controlling psycho. The third possibility, I suppose, is she gets severe crocodile tears, mainly to keep me from blowing the affair partner up with his wife. It has taken no small dose of self-control to not contact her already. My lawyers have been licking their chops since the day I came in. Back in March, and they've said, we know it's hard, but don't do anything like that. Not now. Just stay steady. Some very good Reddit friends in my family have said the same. Anyway, my attitude is to come home after the mediation and at the most say, yep, I did actually do that and say no more. But I'd like to be equipped with some terse, pithy, potentially withering rejoinders. I know enough now that her character is fixed and it doesn't really matter. So really it's a mood exercise, but maybe I feel better in the moment. Thanks, Joe. Raging Champ has our first chime in. I understand the desire for on-point verbal smackdowns, but you know what says F you better than anything else. Silence, engagement, and conflict is what they seek. So they fix their narrative of you and what you deserve in their heads. Take that away. I know it doesn't seem like it, but refusing to engage, refusing to play that game is power. And it sounds like you're about to bender. We just grew apart. I am not a piece of crap narrative, a mediation. While not all cheaters are clinical narcissists, cheating is a narcissist act. Call it temporary narcissism if you like. Upending that narrative is going to be a pretty serious narcissistic injury. She's going to flip her crap. If I were you, I'd read Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life, and educate yourself on the literal playbook that accompanies cheaters. Temporary narcissists who let go of having a handful of burns come back for her silence, withering silence, silent disdain, and a face of chiseled granite. Update Life 2.0. I almost don't care anymore, should I? After having her PI. To confirm in March what my stomach had been telling me since 2018. I filed for divorce but didn't let her know what I knew or how. It was one of the hardest stretches of my very easy life living under the same roof from then until mid-September, when our decree was finalized and I was offered a loan and moved into my own place. One of my non-negotiables was me not leaving the house didn't happen. As our July 15th mediation wore on, my lawyer pointed out that if I really wanted to fight for the house, it would cost me a lot in court and I might not be awarded it. He said, "She's leaving. You're very cash rich." This would be considered a very good day in court. I grudgingly conceded later when I told my sisters about it. They were not happy. I dare say they were disappointed in me the night that I came home for mediation. I wanted to Zillow and found a place nearby. It was a 2-story condo, 3-bedroom, 3 baths. It looked nice, clean, modern. The kids could bite there in 10 minutes. I saw the place with a realtor the next day and like happens sometimes with love. It was an immediate yes. Never before had I cared about counters, cabinets, stainless steel ranges, fridges with the exterior water, ice, accessible door, wet floors, etc. Suddenly I had a vision of Life 2.0 with the kids there and I didn't want to see anything else. Well, it's been a month now. We've gone through the 2 to 5 custody cycle a few times now. I love the Wednesday through Sunday stretch I have with our 3. I miss them a lot during Friday through Tuesday. Time they have with her. But I do drive with the oldest every day to and from work because she is a freshman at the high school where I work with the oldest to help. I'm learning to cook for Leo now and it has been so fun. For the first time ever, I purchased seasonings beyond salt and pepper. I know what oregano is now. I just put garlic powder in the vegetable pie we made Sunday night. I have cumin. The kids say, "Dad, you've actually been making some pretty good dinners." Baby steps. We found nice furnishings for the house. And the way we've got it set up now is very pleasing. I want them to know that our time together can be just like always have friends over. We go to friends' houses. It doesn't have to be full-time activities with Dad. It just feels very, 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 very good and relaxed. It's amazing, actually, all things considered. Which brings me to my question. I'm finding myself way less consumed by anger and bitterness and despair. They surface a little when I see my ex at her son's soccer games. For all I know, she's still banging, or married with kids, boyfriend. She probably hasn't told him that. I know. By the way, she's acknowledged it now, but only via text she has written, "I'm sorry. I know you didn't deserve it and I'm sorry for the pain I caused in person." She has said nothing regarding that. She has texted, "I'm not ready to talk about it yet." Yeah, I know. Disgusting. I did text back. I wasn't ready for 4 years of lies. No response in person. She couldn't be nicer. Yes, it's nauseating. The point is, not living with her and not seeing her has been amazing. The only thing I'm wondering is she contact if her partner's wife. I did talk to that lady 3 times over the course of the last 4 years and she knows there's something off. She even said if there's something going on, it'll end in the next few years. I almost feel like she knows. My whole family says, just move on. Look ahead. She's weird. You tried, etc., etc. And that's how I feel. Pretty much every so often I have a dark vision of dropping a nuclear bomb on his family. But seriously, I'm thinking it could just mess up the good thing that seems to be getting better and better by the hour now practically. She does deserve to know the better part. His wife, though, right? But how can she not? Am I being selfish here or cowardly? I'm just feeling like they're all losers. She was no help to me during this time, and whatever. My current life is nothing short of a nightmare. Here's my story. My first real Reddit post. I'm 35 male and my wife is 33 female. We were high school sweethearts, married for 12 years and together for 15. We have 3 kids together. Wonderful, healthy kids. She grew up in an extreme Christian household where sex wasn't a topic of discussion but more of a taboo. You saved yourself for marriage, husband, and figure out the rest later. So she did. Her first time was on our wedding night. We had a healthy marriage. Or so I thought. Anyways, I always make time to talk and listen to each other. I work away from home, so I'm gone every other week. We both have great jobs and are doing well financially after we decided we were done having kids. We talked about breast implants, seeing my wife's body change so much for giving us our children, and decided to go ahead with surgery. Very nice indeed. Certainly helps my wife gain her confidence back about herself. I've always been into fitness and going to the gym, so we bought some workout equipment at home and she began to use them. Wow. She made great progress and she wanted to share that with others. So she talked to me about wanting to make an Instagram fitness page to show her journey. I shared my concerns with that and the negative attention that will bring, but ultimately decided to support my wife's new hobby. I get home from work one day on International Women's Day, a few months later, to my wife crying and telling me she needs to show me something. Someone had sent her a nude picture of herself, a bikini photo she had uploaded on Instagram, saying they found it on a porn site and just wanted to let you know, when in reality they used a nudie app to generate the image. This killed me inside, seeing the pain it caused my wife. We talked about getting rid of Instagram, but this was not enough for her to do that. Over the next few months, her posts changed from helping people and documenting her journey to showing her body off with less clothing. August 2021. I have my own health concerns with left testicle pain that lasted for 2 months. Many trips to the doctor and having an ultrasound clears me of cancer. Water relief. In the meantime, my wife starts becoming emotionally distant and I'm trying to figure out why. In October, I'm still struggling big time with my libido and drive for life. I get tested for low testosterone and it comes back well below normal. Average doctor tells me they need a second test before starting on hormone replacement. The second test comes back in November at the low normal cutoff limits, and they tell me they can't proceed with treatment and that I'm fine, but recommend antidepressants, which I declined. That week I get another blood test from a hormone replacement clinic and book in for consultation in early January. Early December 2021 rolls around and my wife loses her uncle and her grandmother 7 days apart, a major loss for the family. I come home from work early and take extra time off work to support my wife because she isn't doing well at all. It killed me inside having to go back to work after 2 weeks knowing my wife is still grieving such loss. January 2022. I get approved for my hormone replacement therapy and take my first shot of testosterone on January 13th. 2 weeks later, I'm already feeling like I haven't in a very long time. We go on a trip to Mexico for 2 weeks and I'm having the time of my life with our children. My wife tells me that she can't believe the changes I've made in literally 3 weeks. And then I'm a 10 out of 10 dad and husband. A few weeks later, I'm at work again and I'm reading articles on emotionally distant spouses and midlife crisis. I send her those links and she agrees that does sound like her, but she's not sure why. I then come across an article that read the top 25 sign your wife is having an affair. I'm reading this and I'm blown away that my wife has 22 out of 25, in my opinion. I decided I'm going to confront her of this, but not until I'm home. March 10, D-Day. We'll go out on a date night and I genuinely had a great time. I sit her down and tell her I'm going to talk for 15 minutes and want you to listen and you'll have plenty of time to reply. I read her the top 25 signs and she says, "Wow, I can't believe you think some of those are me." I reply telling her, "This is the time to clear your soul and whatever has been bothering you needs to come out." I thought it was a drunken one-night stand from the summer. The tears start to pour and the long silence develops before she tells me she has been having an online sex affair through Instagram, September 7th through December, showing herself to another man. Lives overseas while he pleasured himself. I'm in disbelief that she could do this, but I think it's something we can reconcile over pretty quickly. I then tell her if there's anything else that it needs to come out now. She tells me this is going to kill us, and cries even harder how. Followed by minutes of her not talking and preparing for the worst. She tells me she's having an affair with her partner, Met on Instagram, and it started a week after her grandmother's funeral and only a few days after I took extra time off work to be home. It was only a few times, she said. It ended in January. As I come to find out, this is normal for only half-truths to come out and only as much information as to limit the damage and fallout effect of the affair. A few days of seriously talking all day and night with no sleep. All the details start to come out that the affair was alive and very much active until the night I confronted her of it. Thousands of text messages, an average of 4 hours of phone calls a day. They would meet in random parking lots in the back of a truck. Hotels. If her partner's home. And the last time in my own home, the affair partner spent the night with our 3 children sleeping upstairs while I'm away at work. 11 confirmed times in 2.5 months, but as high as 15 to 20 as she can't remember all the dates. She told me she was headed to the gym, but in reality, meeting him in the parking lot. She has an IUD. No condoms were used. I asked her to pack her stuff and move out. The kids had the worst week of their lives. Here we are today, both going to individual counseling and have a first marriage counseling scheduled for next week. She basically told me she had written me off and we were going down the path of divorce. Cheating is never justified in her eyes until I made a miraculous turnaround by my hormone replacement. And this drove the guilt and shame even harder of what she was doing. She started her personal counseling while she was in the middle of the affair. There's been no contact with her partner since March 18th. She's regretful, remorseful, and wants to do anything to make this work. She is back in the house. She's been tested for STIs and HIV and pregnancy. She's reluctant to have sex or even kiss me. And through open discussions, she admitted she's having a very hard time getting over the affair, feelings, and the withdrawal from it. If her partner, 33 male, has 0 assets, can't hold a job down, and lives in an apartment with his mom, what about my needs? Obviously not wanting to be a doormat here. I'm not wanting this to work just for the children either. Questions, comments, concerns, all welcome. Cheers. Randy Barrett has a first comment. She brought him into your house and had sex in your bed. There's no coming back from that. Imagine the level of disrespect. That's a big F, you know, a fair fog excuse to justify that. That's design humiliation. Probably laughing at you and your own house. Nat man, she's got to go. Miles tag ads. I think it is a common theme in cheating cases that show that is not a thing of being weak-willed or having a lapse in judgment, but all about having a selfish personality. When the cheating partner is having a hard time, the betrayed spouse does his or her best to be there and help them recover when the betrayed spouse is having any kind of problem, no matter how mild they jump ship. You were there for her, as you should. When those losses happened, when you were going through your testicular issue and low testosterone counts, she starts thinking, well, this is going to end in divorce. I should just start looking for something new instead of trying to fix the relationship. She would rather throw 15 years and 3 kids together to the trash rather than put in some work. However, your health issues manifested in your relationship causing problems. They didn't come out of nowhere. You both knew why it was happening and you were getting treatment for it, and yet she didn't have your back. She was just looking out for herself. Luckily, it wasn't cancer, but if it had been, or if you were to lose someone in your family and get depressed for a while, or she take time and make efforts to be with you and help you be better or worse, it ditch you and seek to have her needs met by any random follow-up on her Insta. She didn't just fail her promise to be faithful, but also being there in sickness and in health to want to bet. What would happen if you tested for the other ones? If you lost your job and couldn't get another one, would she uphold the for a richer for a poorer one? This woman won't have your back when things go bad. Some Christian she is. Honestly, anytime people stay in a relationship and think things can be reconciled between them after infidelity, they end up having serious regrets. 10 years later and wishing they had just left when crap hit the fan. It's not worth staying if she's reluctant to kiss you or show any sign of intimacy towards you. That's a red flag. She doesn't seem to be trying to fix what she broke. Not only that, but she clearly doesn't tell you the whole truth of guilt is still eating her up inside. She's still hiding things from you. Leave. Leave now. You're right, Pop. You do have needs. And you should always be someone's first choice. Update my nightmare life part 2. Much has transpired since my last post in mid-March. Looking back, I wish I took the advice of people on here who reached out and genuinely cared. The hardest part of accepting the reality is that all is lost. Unfortunately, I found out the hard way by my own doing. Reconcile was attempted between mid-March after I let her back in the house to the end of April. So many warning flags. Giving compliments to other men at the gym in front of me. Withholding sex list goes on and on. She pushes me out on purpose at the end of April, saying this is so hard and that she needs some time to figure crap out. I said, I agree. We need healthy time apart where we aren't seeing anyone. She ends up renting an Airbnb in the beginning of May and was reluctant to give me the address of the place, but ultimately does. I drove by one morning to see her. A fair partner's truck parked a block away. Not surprising at all. As I'm driving by, I see her and a fair partner walking out of the alley towards his truck. I turn around and pull up door to door. A fair partner is inside the truck. She didn't have time to get inside, so she is hiding, ducking down behind the tailgate. I rolled my window down and said, "Real impressive. You lasted one day on your own." I pull to the back of the truck and she runs the front and hides by the hood, so I left and canceled her cell phone. That was on my plan. 2 days later, she shows up at the house with her bags packed when we come home. Said she's sick of living this shady lifestyle. I say that's a good decision, but you're not welcome to stay here. Go. Stay at your stepdad. She agrees. Mother's Day rolls around. She wants to do something with the family. I disagree. She calls a few hours later and invites me to a movie. This time I agree. When I go back to the home and the kids go to bed, I ask her to leave and she said she is tired so she didn't leave and falls asleep on the couch. I go upstairs and see her old cell phone on the table, so I decide to go through it, find evidence and pictures and messages of the affair. Finally, I wake her up and confront her of it. She goes ballistic. And long story short, police show up and she's arrested and charged with assault. At 1 a.m., 3 weeks of no contact and not allowed to visit the home. And when the charges are dropped by lying on her police report, she wants to meet. I agree. She wants to work on things. I'm hesitant, but she's a mess. And I take that as a finally being remorseful. I rent my own place for 5 days and end up moving back home on the 5th day, May 29th-ish mid-June. Things are going okay, but not well. Communicating has improved drastically, but there's no intimacy at all, period. She won't even kiss me. Her phone still has a password I don't know about. We're in bed one morning and at 6 a.m., her phone rings. She tells me it's her affair partner. She told me she blocked it, but then unblocked it. I said I'm sick of the crap and threatened to leave. She agrees to block again. I have all my lawyer paperwork prepared for separation at this point. I have a fire in the backyard one night. She's at a neighbor's for a glass of wine. She comes back a few hours later and I dance with her outside for the first time in years. I try to kiss her. She pulls away. I'm like, what the F? Try to be intimate later. But it was so bad. I ended up sleeping downstairs after. The next day she forgets her phone and I slide the screen down but can't get into it, but shows email notifications from her former partner. Another dagger to the back. I confront her. She lies and says she didn't message him. He must have gotten her email somehow. I go downstairs, pull up her email and read the entire conversation that's been going on for days behind my back. I show her. She breaks down. I said, I'm filing for divorce the next day. I leave. She calls me 15 times over the next hour. I don't answer. Texts me to come home. She's having a breakdown. I return home hours later. She calls for a fair partner while I'm there on the phone and tells her it's over. A third partner asks for my blessing to pursue a relationship with her if we don't work out. I laugh. She hangs up. Mid-June or July, she made some changes. Was very positive, reassuring me. She is in this for the long haul and then it could take years to get to the place we think we can. I quit my job on the road and take a new position to be home every night with my family. I start my new job on July 25th. She pushes me out again. We go for a walk. She says it isn't working and doesn't think we can get there, but never says one time she wants to separate or divorce. We had a friend's wedding to attend that weekend, but I got my new work schedule and couldn't make it. She reaches out to her former partner again and spent the next 3 days with him. After the wedding, I filed my paperwork. August, she was served. I listed our home and it was sold within 1 month, including possession date. Separation agreement was signed this week. I'm in a much better place over the last few months, being free from this madness, which ultimately I created for myself, trying to do everything possible to help this woman. But she isn't the same one. I married 12 years ago, obviously, and unfortunately all at my expense. Everyone said she would do it again. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down knew what would happen. Kids are adjusting well to their new home with me. Shared custody. And I focus my time and attention to them at all times. She's not with her partner anymore, and he is apparently heartbroken. Recently, she tells me I'm a great man, great provider, husband, father, all the qualities she's looking for. Says she knows she won't find another man with even 50% of what I have to offer. But she isn't sexually attracted to me, but hasn't ruled out getting back together someday. Going forward, I can live with knowing I tried everything possible to work on her family unit. She did not. And that's something she will carry to her grave until next time. I found out a few days ago she had been cheating on me for 2 months with a random dude from the internet. It looks like they actually have a real connection and potential thing together. So it's not based purely on physical attraction. We have a 2-year-old child. They met online talking about a common passion and they connected. And since she was unhappy, it became something. The other side of the story is she was unhappy with me, and in her current life for over a year. She went through hell for a good 1.5 years. She suffered so much. No excuses for what she's done, though. Just wanted to paint the full picture. She's moving out in 2 weeks. My request, and I don't plan on talking to her at all. At first, she's going to continue her adventure with him. They both think they want an open relationship. If she doesn't take time to reflect on everything before pursuing her adventure or not, then I'm not there for her. I won't care about her anymore. Update: here's my story. And discovered 3 days ago she's been cheating on me for 2 months with the same dude and saw him 5 times. This dude is not new in her life. I spotted her flirting with him online in early October. Back then, she was telling me she was unhappy and lost and it was a mistake. She was deeply unhappy. Our relationship hasn't been going well since May or June of 21. I suffered depression for over a year and a half, and as I was spiraling down, I was getting more and more aggressive with some violent behaviors. Hole in the wall, slamming doors, throwing objects on the ground and yelling. Lots of yelling after her after the baby. She wasn't supported. She wasn't feeling desired. I wasn't wanting sex during the depression, and she felt like she was on her own with no partner. And she's right. She had no partner. I started therapy in June, and since mid-July I am stable and have been working on myself as a man and a human being. There are issues she mentioned during her fights that were not related to the depression, and those need to be fixed for her to be happy. Problem is, she was burnt out of carrying the family on her own, and she lost her feelings and she had no energy left to work on the relationship. I was the only one working on myself, and the couple things started to get worse in November as it's when she contacted him again and she basically found an exit to escape her current unhappy life. We started couples therapy in December, but she was already cheating and gone in her head. She told me in December she took the decision to leave the house and to split up. I agreed it was a good idea since it was getting super toxic at home. During the holidays, we came up with some sort of plan around 2 months to find a job, a place, save some money and be ready to have the baby at her place. But since I learned about the cheating, this is not okay anymore. I gave her 2 weeks. The relationship is a bit weird. He's living abroad. Huge age gap. His children are older than her, but they do have a real connection. She really likes him and is starting to fall in love. She thinks she doesn't want a traditional relationship anymore and want to try an open relationship, and instead of taking a break and thinking about everything first, she has decided to continue with him. I told her she could not see him while she's still living at home, but that the 2 weeks deadline is flexible. She said she's seeing him in 2 weeks and a half anyway, so she can't stay any longer. She's extremely and deeply hurt by everything she went through and suffered so much. She doesn't believe in me changing or being sincere. She doesn't believe me when I tell her I didn't want her to be sad and unhappy. And that's why my depression was getting worse. Her new relationship is obviously wonderful at the very beginning. It's always awesome and super exciting, but I think she's delusional. She thinks it's going to last. The feeling my ultimate wish is for the three of us to be happy together, and as individuals, we decided to make a family together, and this was based on real intense love for each other. She only sees the negative now and seems to unconsciously forget about how it really was for her with me before all this mess. I don't want to talk to her as long as she is with this dude, except for about the baby. Tell me I'm not crazy. Update. Lies, lies, and more lies. Because living a lie for 2 months and lying wasn't enough. She had to screw it up even more. We had an agreement while she was home. During the 2 weeks, she has to find a job in a place she cannot text her new relationship while I'm in the same room. Yesterday, as expected, she did while we were having a serious conversation. I checked her laptop. She did. I went to confront her in the middle of the night without saying I knew, just asking. And she refused to answer. She then stayed muted, and I started derailing Minister to call a cab and a hotel right away and put her outside, and she recorded it. Then I unlocked her door and she still refused to answer and menaced me to call the police. She knew exactly what she was doing by not answering. She knew what it would trigger in my current state. She recorded it. She is malicious and she became somebody I don't recognize. She's a pathetic liar who has no honor and no respect. I've been warned many times, obviously, but the truth is now out. What she did doesn't excuse my actions, though, but that's the trigger. And she knew it. F this crap. P.S. I think I'll go to a lawyer and maybe the police by myself to be the first to take action that will show I have good intentions and want to make it right. Update. We broke up, but knowing when she sees him makes me feel bad. Advice. So she left him 3 days ago. The first night she was at the hotel with him. Right away, I guess. But I got confirmation later at night. I'm pretty certain she's at the hotel again with him. How do I know? The only time she was connected, neither to Instagram or Messenger, was when she was seeing him and was cheating on me. So today, since 10 p.m., not connected on any of those platforms. I'm feeling bad since I'm sure she's seeing him again. It's just killing me that she left the family without even trying to fix her problems. But she's devoting her entire time to him as soon as she can and alternate with a baby. I don't know what to do and how to deal with that. I basically deleted our conversation from Instagram, so I don't see her status on there. As for Messenger, that's how we communicate for the baby. So I don't see much option there. Do you guys have any tricks? Thanks. Update. So long story short, it's been 2 weeks. She left the house and she cheated on me for 2 months. And she didn't want to stop for affair. I recently, a week ago, told her I want no contact except when it is about our son. Since then, every day she texted me about random stuff. Yesterday, I was clear. I don't want to be in touch with her since she doesn't care about me and I still love her. So I can protect myself and heal alone. I blocked her from Messenger, so I don't see when she's online or not. And so I would think about her less. She was a bit shocked already. What did she do? Message me in the evening about something interesting. Twice. Then this morning, again, since I was ignoring her, she came to my house. Pretext that she was worried since I wasn't replying. She was almost in tears and her voice was weird. She seemed in distress a bit. She added, "You're seeing me. It doesn't feel good." There are many things I could have replied, but I was a bit speechless. She could say that to me after what she's done. She was going to a medical appointment and stopped by on the way to there. I told her I don't want to talk to her except about our son, again. And she left 3 hours later. She gets out of her appointment and texts me the outcome and sends 6 or 7 messages about it and asking if I had chicken pox when I was a kid. Then asked if our son got anything weird on his skin. I just replied no. Even though she spends time with him every other day, so she knows very well he didn't have any problem. So she basically finds pretexts to just engage in a conversation with me all the time. But she doesn't care about me since she won't stop her affair. Didn't want to talk about it and doesn't take any time to reflect on the situation, etc. She's just trying to get the best from me while staying away from the bad. She lives in a parallel dimension. Update. She started cheating in September or October of 21. I discovered in early January that she left around the 17th, I believe. She kept going with him and didn't want to reconsider anything. Fast forward to this week. She got dumped. They were supposed to have an open relationship. Turns out she had too many expectations and he checked out. It's sad to see all the mess they created for nothing. Nothing would have justified it anyway. But her family is destroyed, and she's now alone and damaged as well. So it's a lose-lose situation. I care for her so much regardless of what she's done to me. Because the cheating is just one of the consequences of her untreated mental problems. It's just sad overall. P.S. I'm myself very okay and at peace with myself and with her. I know what I did right and wrong, and same about her. Our first reaction comes from Rubicon Man 1970. I'm happy for you. My ex cheated and married her fair partner. Been 4 years now. Happy she is gone and leaving me alone. I fear for relationship, crapping out and coming back to me. Stay strong. Life gets better. The up response. Can't say I'm happy about it. I'm happy because my life makes sense again. I won't go into details about the whole thing, but it just made no sense. The only thing that would have made sense is him getting scared or her getting bored. Well, he got tired of her and scared. So I'm not crazy. And it feels good to see I was right. It doesn't feel good to see her suffering. I'm still sorry about your ex, even though you're now happy without her. Nobody should ever have to go through what we went through. Not even my ex. Yo, he dumped her because he has somebody else. Rubicon Man 1970 replies back. I've skimmed over your profile. Wow. I see your son. Her mental issues. I pretty much advise the cheated to move on. I would not be disappointed in you if she was truly remorseful and did therapy for the relationship. I'm 51 and would never dated. 25-year-old would be fun. But for a relationship, no, she went because of him. You work on you. She works on her and hope the best of you too. If not co-parent the best, the op replies. Yeah, and I don't post everything from the same account so you don't have every element. But to summarize it, I have my problems. She has hers. She got affected by my problems until she broke down. Then I got affected by her problems and still am. She won't accept her problems fully yet, and if she does, she still needs to understand them and go to therapy. And if she does, she still needs to make progress and work on herself. And if she still does, she will still need to pardon me for what she went through and give us a second chance. So many ifs that I try not to even look at it anymore. On my side, I know I'm fully ready to do all the work because I built my life around her and for her family. And I don't want to put the same energy into the future for anybody else. I have my son and only him deserves that energy. Otherwise, then it will be about myself. And that's it. She will not accept. She went away for him, yet she lied to herself and bought her falsified version of reality. One of the problems of her disorder. She keeps saying she was drawn since May of 21 in her head and it was over when in fact there were ups and downs until she started talking to him and her ups were amazing. The downs were definitely something we could have worked out in couples counseling, for instance. But when she started talking to him, suddenly everything turned to crap. The more she was invested with him behind the scene, the worse our relationship was getting. She was sabotaging everything to justify her leaving and cheating so she doesn't feel too bad about herself. But that's too big for her to realize and accept for now. Anyway, mental illnesses are up. I don't have much expectations anymore. I have wishes, but I can't say I have much hope or expectation anymore. Thanks for your words again. Our next comment comes from Armory 2-7. I know you feel terrible for her, even with everything she did to you and your family. And it's understandable. It means you still have a heart, but you must remember she did all of this to herself. Don't let that heart of yours trick you into letting her back. It'll only lead to even more problems. Don't be her anchor. I'm telling you this for your own good. You're still too vulnerable. And empathy has a way of clouding the mind. She is a grown woman and knew what was at stake. And she still cheated on you. Right now, it's about you healing and moving on. Focus on that, my friend. Leave her to her own demons. Surround yourself with good and strong company to continue your journey back to you. Hang in there, brother. We were married in 2000, had 2 kids, and lived a generally happy life of a working couple. She had a cheating episode right after her marriage, but we had reconciled and moved on. A few years ago, her interest in a relationship started tapering down. Whenever I brought it up, she'd attribute it to her work and the responsibilities of the kids. She'd shower some extra attention for a few days and we move on. Daddy Day was Valentine's Day in 2020. We had planned to cook together at home when I returned home from work that day. She wasn't there. I checked her location on Find My on iPhone, and she was at her favorite restaurant. She returned home drunk later and passed out. I checked her phone and found messages between her and her partner. We had shared our respective passcodes with one another. However, she had been very diligent about physically guarding her phone and deleting all their communication right away, but she missed the last year on account of being drunk. Also, it was the first time in years she left her phone unattended. Otherwise, it went everywhere with her, even the shower. She had been sleeping with her phone under the pillow for the past few years. I now have the confirmation of the affair and the identity of the pair partner who was and still is a colleague of hers he's married to. I chose not to confront the wayward spouse right away. I'd been developing a growing awareness that she was becoming a masterful and smooth liar. Anytime she needed to explain her whereabouts, she would come up with a perfectly plausible excuse at the spur of the moment. I wasn't expecting anything out of confronting her other than being buried with 1,000 lies, such as it being a harmless flirtation or just a quick, one-time indiscretion. I needed to know the depth of her affair. I instinctively knew it pretty much at this point, but I wanted solid data. I hired a private investigator and put some security cameras outside my home to see who was coming and going to be. I obtained the security footage at her favorite restaurant. Going back over a year, many times I was able to overhear her talking on her phone at home when she didn't think I was around or within earshot. The information came in through a fire hose. Their affair had been going on for 3.5 years at this point. Wayward spouse and affair partner had been privately gloating about being able to keep it a secret from their respective spouses for this long. Their prevailing sentiment was that their respective spouses had discovered the truth. Everything, including the very affair, had to be their own fault. More details kept coming. Her penchant for unprotected sex, her pregnancy by affair partner and abortion, their home visits during lunch, 4 hours of sex, phone sex when they couldn't meet and dissing everyone around them. I was shocked by how thoroughly contemptuous she was towards even those of her friends who absolutely adored her. And she has such a planet-sized network of them, except for her brother, parents, and 2 kids. This woman has nothing other than contempt towards every single human being. I've always known her to use superficial charm to get validation, companionship, get away, or just influence friends to behave to her liking. I was still shell-shocked by discovering the real her, as my understanding of a narcissistic personality is very shallow. At the time, the pie gave me names of other affairs she had or was still carrying on. She also slept with her boss, among others, as an example, just when I thought it had to be all there was. Little did I know there was a plot twist in the offing. The communications between her and her partner started referring to killing certain somebody by poisoning their food. She certainly developed a recent penchant for making food for me, even though we had not been talking for weeks at this time. At the first reference of killing, I stopped consuming anything she cooked for me. I only eat the food intended for the whole family, and even then I wouldn't consume it if everyone else had already taken their share. The first reference to killing was so subtle that it was almost an animal instinct on my part to take such precautions. I felt I was being silly and paranoid. However, their subtlety soon went out of the window as their frustration mounted and their discussions descended into inflamed arguments. As her partner was urging her to kill me ASAP, and she was frustrated because, in her own words, "I'm going to add poison to the whole food," I immediately canceled my life insurance. My mental health had been tapering down for a while and I was struggling to maintain my sanity. Nothing more was to be gained by staying the course. So for the first time in months, I spoke to her. I told her it was time to start planning for her divorce, that I knew about her and her partner. I gave her 4 or 5 quick examples of things that she couldn't believe in her wildest dreams that anyone other than the affair partner and she could have possibly known. I concluded with the assertion that my decision for divorce was 100% final moments, end of the conversation. Her eyes went wide and her jaw hit the floor. The whole speech took about 2 minutes, and that was the end of a 20-year relationship. Prologue: it's been 22 months since the D-Day and 10 since the divorce was finalized. My daughter lives with me half the time and my son lives with my ex-wife full-time. My son had discovered about the affair on his own, as he has been to her work and seen them acting extremely familiar with each other post-divorce. He asked me if his hunch of the affair was true. I confirmed it, but made sure not to add anything more. He spilled the beans about the affair to my daughter. So child support is pretty punishing in the state I live in. And despite making a six-figure salary, I'm living on what is essentially poverty wages. I focus on physical and mental health. Had two brief relationships since the divorce and hope to land a long-term partner. Every morning I wake up and realize I'm alive and sane. My mind gets filled with serenity. I'm at peace with the world for the first time in ages. Holy cow, AP, I'm so glad you were able to get out of that alive. I'm so sorry you experienced such an extreme situation. I'm actually shocked that you're allowing your children to still see their mother, given the circumstances. She seems unhinged and dangerous. Watch your back. Although she is leaving you alone now, that may change in the future. Narcissists will go silent or absent after divorce when someone else is captivated by them and is supplying their insatiable need for attention. This is a good time to breathe and regather strength eventually. When the relationship that is taking up all of their time suffers, the narcissist will double up their focus on their ex-spouse. AQOK. In the meantime, as best as possible, try to reduce the number of face-to-face interactions. If they are needed, do this with another person present or in a neutral environment such as a coffee shop. The more engagement with a narcissist, the more they want. And this defeats the purpose of a divorce. The community asked a question from MJ in 1980, what about the affair partner's wife? She may now be the one in danger. The op replies, so far she has shunned all communication for me. Most likely, my ex-wife and her partner have told her that she divorced me because I'm crazy and advise her to avoid me. Big Ed Cactus Head has something to say. The communications between her and her partner started referring to killing certain somebody by poisoning their food. Are you going to report this to the police? It's not conclusive proof of anything, but it is evidence worthy of an investigation, the OPI replies. The evidence is not admissible in court. We don't live together anymore and I'm not in danger. My main concern is what kind of impact it might have on the kids if the murder plot becomes a piece of public knowledge. As it is, the divorce has been very hard on the kids. Bandage response back. The evidence that you obtained might not be admissible in court, but your lawyer should have involved law enforcement as soon as you knew about the plot. They would have helped you in securing a warrant. Now the guy is complaining to be living on poverty wage, where he could have gotten those guys in jail, done full custody, etc. Baseball. This has to be fan fiction. You hope, he replies, please. I did consult a lawyer. I was told talking about killing someone is not a crime, only if they're caught taking an action on it. Also note what I said about its effect on the kids. Accomplished to milk 816 chimes in. So your son knows your mom cheated and wanted to kill you but wants to live with his mother? Dope replies. My son only knows of one affair and nothing else. He's always been close to his mom and chose to stay with her post-divorce in divorce court. Teenagers get 100% say in this matter. I haven't told them about anything else as it might devastating, irrespective of her merits as a wife and partner. My ex-wife is a good mother. The next response from not your average 50s lady. Wow. So happy you are free. Even if life circumstances are challenging, you are focused on the right things. I am 7 years post accidentally finding a text on my ex's phone and eventually uncovering years of lying, cheating and essentially living a secret life. Well, I played dutiful working supermom after the worst of the trauma wore off. I had this overwhelming feeling I was living my life and not opponent someone else's web of lies. He stole 11 years of my life, but I got my future back. Keep moving forward. There's only good things ahead. The only response your experience and thoughts so resonate with me. I'm glad to have the love of my kids and an optimistic future. If nothing else, this experience has given me a gift of resiliency. I'm happy for you that you're past your trauma and have your future back. I think this can be a rallying cry for all the seed of one's own. The future. Accomplished milk. 816 is back again for another comment. Wait, did she admit wanting to murder you? Your kids know that. Did you tell the affair, partner, spouse? Did your wife want to keep the marriage? The op response. I confronted her with the evidence and she stayed silent in shock and disbelief. My kids don't know that, and I haven't told them. She wanted to keep the marriage, but I didn't. Final update from OPI. It's been over 2 years since the day I recovered from the depths of hell, and I'm in a relationship at this time. Not everything is perfect, but overall things are good and optimistic. When I was at my nadir right after the D-Day, I used to read these lines sometimes aloud that I had jotted down for myself. I'm leaving it here in case it might help someone else. I'll be leaving this sub soon, and I wish all the best to all current and future people in recovery. I'll be dignified. I'll never indulge in self-pity. I'll never blame myself. I'll be the best dad to my kids. I'll never be anyone's second choice. I'll never trust her. I'll live a good life. Wow. I love this for you. Thank you so much for sharing these beautiful and inspiring words. As you well know, leaving a narcissist doesn't always end with simply physically leaving, packing up your belongings and building a new life. You need to have a present and future to look forward to. You need to learn to reclaim the things you loved in the parts of you that were wrestled away from you during the relationship. Your goals must sync with creating strong foundations in who you are and across different aspects of your life, such as your body and health, mind, relationships, money, and career. Bad things happen in life, but they don't last forever. You've done so well of building a strong foundation, Hop. You're actively growing and practicing resilience. You're doing so well. Keep up the great work. Our next stop received a message from Beyond Divine Intervention. Pocket dial. This is also fresh. I don't even honestly know why I'm posting this yet. I'm completely broken and I just need to vent and maybe get some advice, I guess. I don't really have anyone to turn to because the person I dedicated my life to betrayed me. I've been in a relationship with my wife. That even hurts to say, for 10 years. Married since last September. 4-year-old son. I've been sick with COVID the last week. So I had to stay home from a concert that we were planning on going to on Saturday. She still went with her friends on her way to the show. I got a call from her. After a short moment, it was obvious it was a pocket dial and not intentional. I overheard her talking to her friends about cheating on me. It was a long call before she noticed what had happened. My initial thought was that the pocket dial was intentional and this was her stupid way of telling me because she couldn't say it to my face. I'm still uncertain if that was the intention or if it was just karma. She says it was unintentional, but I don't know what to believe anymore. I have talked to her a bit, but it is difficult. I'm completely broken and can barely function. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I got a six-pack after almost 3 years of sobriety. The only person I have told is my boss, who is really more of my friend than anything. He gave me a hug and sent me home, telling me not to worry about using vacation time. Just do what I need to do and get my head on straight. She has said in the past that I do not give her enough attention. In my defense, I work nearly 6 hours a week, cook dinner every night while having my son attached to my hip. Anytime I am home, I try to give her as much attention as I can, but I guess that is not enough. I asked her what she wanted, a family or to be single. She said she wants a family, but I don't know if I believe it. She says she has only talked to this guy for about a month and only met with him once. She met him through work. Here's where it gets even more interesting. She is currently a bartender at a bikini bar. It is a no-nudity strip club, but still pretty janky. She has stripped in the past, but since having her kid, she has only bartended. The money is good, but have made it known that I was uncomfortable with it and did not want her child growing up knowing that his mom worked in a strip club. I think the main reason she likes working here is to get swooned over and hit on. She just likes the attention. I believe. I don't know if this has happened to previously or if this is truly the first time. I ordered a paternity test that is arriving today. I love my child. I would still take care of him, but I need to know if he is truly mine. I don't know what is what anymore. Is that out of line? I love her and what we have built together. But I can't even look at her right now. I don't know what to do. My gut just tells me to call it quits, but my heart tells me to try and make it work. Eek. I'm so sorry, OP. It's super distressing to discover that your partner is having or has had an affair. Give yourself some time. Finding out such shocking news can leave you feeling angry and hurt. Seek support from trusted friends, family members, or talk to a trained counselor. Once you have established the facts, if your partner resolves to end the affair and recommit to your relationship, be slow to judge. You'll need to reflect on whether you're able to forgive the breach of trust. And you may not yet have all the information with which to make that decision. Only after talking and establishing the reasons for the affair will you be able to decide. You can't, however, say that you're willing to work with your partner and to try to understand why this has happened. At this point, you may find it helpful to talk to a counselor who can work with you both to determine your next steps. Enough for me. How about the community hall clock? 25657. Due to someone who has dated multiple strippers in the past, there is a reason you don't marry them. Hell, I spent a weekend with one I met 6 months ago on a trip out of town. She came down to my area a couple of weeks later. Hence why she gave me her number and why we were talking. We both knew what it was and had a great weekend. But that's all it was. She will never not need validation and attention. She will not stop in the future. What she meant by I want a family is I want the stability of a babysitter and someone who cooks for me and pays the bills, but still able to cheat on you and will be better at hiding it from now on. Listen to your gut. It's there to guide us when our hearts get in the way. Mr. Big Bull One has the next extensive thought. Hi, up. Sorry this is happening to you. I think your heart is, in this case, not giving you good advice. I think you need logic. If she really thought cheating was wrong, she would not have told anyone by telling the friends it. So she hasn't any remorse and so she doesn't have any problem cheating on you and now she's blaming you for it. Let me tell you, there is never a reason to cheat. Really? Never. If she was so unhappy, she could have divorced you. She could have talked more about than happiness. And if after a while she does not see any progress, file for divorce. But cheating is never an option. There is never a reason to cheat. The reason she is telling this is to move away from the fact that it was her fault alone. She does not want to take the blame and not take on the responsibility. But let me tell you, it is all 100% on her. She is now trying to solve all this. She will be trying to make you stay. Why? Because you are her home base. You provide. You take care of the kid. You cook. How on earth is she going to hook up with guys if she needs to clean the house, cook, take care of the kid? No. For her, it would be better if someone does it for her. And what does? Only talk to this guy for about a month and only met with him once. Mean. Should that make it less hurtful or not that bad? The fact that she talked to her friends about this means she planned it all along. It was not a mistake. It is never a mistake, but a clear decision to do this. And she is not sorry at all. She's only sorry, Carter. Be ready to be love-bombed. Be ready for your downplayed. Be ready. She will try to put the blame on you. Personally, I wouldn't fall for all of this. I would start to ignore. Only talk to her about the kid, nothing else. Completely ignore her for the rest. I would go talk to a lawyer and draw up the papers and have her served. What you do is up to you. The question you need to answer is if you want to live with someone who can so easily betray you, has no remorse,